Hey folks, welcome to part 2 of making a strip by me. So, obviously, this is the inking part of the program. For the Fingernails, ink with a Hunt 102 Crow Quill pen. It gives me a nice fine line. This is my preferred ink, nice and black. It's pretty thick though, so I find it doesn't work great with a brush, but for the pen it works awesome. And generally, I'll start inking in panel 1 and work in consecutive order. Depending on how detailed the scene is, sometimes you have to move around so you don't let the ink doesn't smudge. I've made that mistake many times, and generally when you're working with ink, especially if you're going to watercolor on top of it, you can't use whiteouts, so you have to rely on painting over it and then hoping you can fix it in Photoshop, which I try to avoid. I try to keep the kind of natural flow of the pen while that I get while I'm working, basically without a safety net, which is the nice thing with ink. I mean, inking is not as easy as you would think. It really isn't just tracing. When I first started doing it, that's how I worked, or how I thought. It's just tracing over the pencil lines. But inking has a totally different life. It has a life of its own compared to the pencil. I find sometimes, even especially with hands, my inked hands look a lot sharper and a lot more detailed than what I was able to get with the pencil. I like to let the inking process be a bit of a free flow. I don't generally try and stay right in the lines. Oftentimes I'll even, if I make a mistake, I'll just leave it. I don't try and go back and fix it. It really adds to the spontaneity really adds to the life of the comic, I think. The Crow Quill pen, the Hunt 102 Crow Quill pen, is a fantastic tool. I tried it relatively early on when I was playing around with my other comic, Dead in Suburbia, and I didn't like it. I found that I couldn't get it to flow properly, and I couldn't get the line weight that I wanted. I found it really cumbersome. What I didn't know then that I do know now is that the 102 really needs to be broken in, and once it's broken in, it's a fantastic tool. You can get super fine feathered lines, and then when you a little bit later on, I show you how I ink the panel lines. You can get a really nice meaty thick line as well. But look at that, like I'm going in here and it's just super fine work on this tiny little hand, and I work quite small, so having the ability to go in with a tool that allows you to get a line weight so fine really helps the process. Now, don't get me wrong, I really do like using a brush. In fact, I prefer using a brush, but given the scale that I've decided to work at, and the speed at which I want to be able to work, a brush just didn't work out by the Fingernails. It's a lot of a brush requires a skill level that is beyond me, really. I enjoy inking with a brush, but it's my brush work is not what I would say passable. So the 102 worked out really well, or is working out really well for this particular style of comic that I'm going with. I mean, it takes a little bit getting used to it. With a brush, you can move up and you can move both directions, left and right. With the Crow Quill, especially when it's new. You are very limited in direction of use. You really need to be working towards yourself versus having uh, a a little bit more free play. Just like the penciling part of the process, I find by time I get down to the last panel, my movements with the pen are a lot quicker and sharper, and ultimately, I think smoother. I would, again, the same as with penciling, I would love to be able to have an ink warm up, but it's just really not feasible for the most part. And see here, I didn't pencil in the the zipper on that coat. I just decided to go with that while I was inking. So here I'm adding some effects, the rain in the background. I debated whether or not I was going to do that with watercolor versus ink, but I figured with watercolor it would be a little subtle, and I really wanted it to be obvious that it was pouring rain. So again, here, this is what I'm saying with the 102 and the line weight. I mean, I've been able to get in the top left panel a really thick ball at the front and then taper it off quite rapidly to the back. And then with the same pen, I'm getting this tiny little rain streak. Now, with the panel borders, I go as thick a line as I can get with the pen. So I'm pressing as hard as I can without obviously bending the tip. And I'm loading it up with as much ink as I can because it uses a lot. And the nice thing about the 102 is when you're pressing that hard, you almost create a trough for the line. So if you run out of ink halfway through or you need to go over it again, there already exists a line, and it actually allows you to track the pen quite easily from one corner to the other. And that brings us to a conclusion of my inking process. I'm next up is watercolor, and I hope you can check that one out. Until then, I'll see you next time. Don't forget to check out the comic at bythefingernails.com. It updates on Mondays. And you can also follow me on Twitter at DA Schubert and my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/daschubert.art. Thanks for watching.